Today we are going to embark on the fascinating and complex story of Lot, a biblical character who faced countless challenges and made crucial decisions throughout his life. Lot's trajectory is widely known in the Bible, mainly because of his connection with the city of Sodom, which was destroyed by God as a consequence of the many sins of its inhabitants. Lot was the son of Abraham's brother Aaron, and therefore the nephew of Abraham, the illustrious patriarch whose life is full of upheavals and powerful lessons. In this video, we will explore in depth all that the Bible reveals about Lot. Therefore, we ask you to subscribe to the channel to help us continue to share our work and expand that knowledge. The origin and meaning of the name Lot is uncertain, but some scholars suggest that it may convey the idea of a veil that covers, perhaps reflecting aspects of Lot's own life, marked by times of protection and darkness. The Bible relates that, after the death of his father, Lot left the city of Ur of the Chaldees and went on to the city of Haran with his grandfather Terah, his uncle Abraham, and Sarai. Ur of the Chaldees was one of the most advanced cities of the time, rich in culture and commerce, making the move to Haran a significant step in Lot's life. Later, when Abraham decided to leave Haran after Terah's death, Lot followed with him to Canaan, demonstrating his loyalty and trust in his uncle. But Canaan soon faced a great famine, forcing Lot and Abraham to go down to Egypt in search of sustenance. Egypt was a land of plenty, but also of danger, especially for foreigners. After a period there, during which Pharaoh discovered that he had been deceived about the true relationship between Abraham and Sarai, he expelled the group. Lot thus returned with the patriarch to Canaan. However, this return marked the beginning of a new chapter. During this time, Abraham prospered greatly, accumulating wealth, flocks, and servants. It seems that Lot also had similar success, with his own flocks growing substantially. The land they were on could no longer support both, leading inevitably to disputes between Lot's herdsmen and Abraham's herdsmen. This situation of territorial and resource conflict culminated in Abraham and Lot's decision to separate. Abraham, showing his generosity and wisdom, allowed Lot to choose first the land he wished to occupy. Lot, looking towards the green plains of the Jordan, towards the Dead Sea, chose the area near the city of Sodom, a decision that would have significant consequences for his future. The region was fertile and attractive, but Sodom was known for its iniquity and moral corruption, something Lot would soon discover the hard way. Upon settling in Sodom, Lot became involved in a series of events that profoundly shaped his life and legacy. Living with the inhabitants of Sodom and being close to the corrupt values of the city put Lot and his family in challenging situations, testing their faith and resilience. Lot's choice, initially based on the economic attractiveness of the region, turned out to be a decision full of moral and spiritual complexity. In this video, in addition to detailing these events, we will explore the lessons Lot's story teaches us about choices, morality, and faith. Stay with us and explore every aspect of this biblical narrative that continues to resonate powerfully today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video so that more people can learn and reflect on these important lessons. After the separation from Abraham, Lot set out for Sodom and quickly became involved in the affairs of the city. He seems to have attained a prominent social position in Sodom, for when the angels of the Lord arrived in the city, Lot was sitting in the gate, a place reserved for the most respected members of the community, where legal and social matters were settled. However, Sodom was a notoriously wicked city. According to the Bible, the men of Sodom were wicked and great sinners before the Lord. The Bible tells us that Lot was deeply distressed by the blatant wickedness practiced by the inhabitants of that city. The New Testament, specifically the Apostle Peter, mentions this in his letter, and he delivered righteous Lot, being angry at the desolate life of abominable men, because this righteous man, dwelling among them by seeing and hearing, afflicted his righteous soul daily with the unrighteous deeds which he saw and heard. 2 Peter chapter 2 verses 7 and 8. During their stay in Sodom, there was a significant battle involving a group of kings from Mesopotamia, who defeated the kings of the cities of Admah, Zeboim, and Zor. In this conflict, all of Sodom's possessions were plundered, and many of its inhabitants, including Lot, were taken captive. Lot, with his captured goods, was taken prisoner. Upon hearing of what had happened, Abraham prepared a troop of men and in a night battle, succeeded in defeating the enemy army, regaining the property and the freedom of Lot and his family. This episode is also notable because it was when Abraham met Melchizedek, an important figure in the biblical narrative. Despite this war and the sacking of Sodom, Lot did not leave the city. He reappears in the biblical narrative when God decides to destroy the cities of the plain, including Sodom and Gomorrah. The Bible relates that before the destruction, Lot and his family were rescued by two angels sent by the Lord. This deliverance was an act of God's grace and mercy, in respect to the covenant made with Abraham. The way the men of Sodom received the angels, wanting to have sexual relations with them, shows the depravity that brought divine judgment upon the city. This sinful and unrestrained behavior was one of the main reasons for the destruction of Sodom. The destruction of Sodom is a clear example of how choices and environments can profoundly impact a person's life. Also worth noting is Lot's terrible attempt to pacify the situation by offering his own daughters to the men of Sodom. This attitude demonstrated Lot's weakness and the detrimental effects the city had on him. When the inhabitants of Sodom did not back down in their attempt to capture the angels who were in Lot's house, the angels struck them with a kind of blindness. Lot was then ordered to take his entire family out of the city, which would be destroyed. Unfortunately, Lot showed resistance to leaving Sodom, and the angels had to take him by force, leading his family out of the city. They were warned not to look back during the flight. However, Lot's wife disobeyed the angel's command and immediately turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back. After leaving Sodom, Lot and his 2 daughters settled in a small town. Fearing to continue living there, he decided to take refuge with his daughters in a cave in the mountains. It was in this isolated place that something terrible happened. Lot's daughters, fearing the extinction of their lineage, got their father drunk and slept with him, resulting in incestuous pregnancies. From this union Moab and Ben-Ammi were born. Moab was the ancestor of the Moabites, and Ben-Ammi of the Ammonites. These 2 peoples have caused many problems for the Israelites throughout biblical history. Apart from references in the book of Genesis, Lot is rarely mentioned in the Bible. In the Old Testament, his name appears only twice in reference to his descendants, in the expression sons of Lot. In the New Testament, Jesus mentions Lot in the Gospel of Luke, in an apocalyptic context. He recalled the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the deliverance of Lot. As in Lot's day, people lived normally, eating, drinking, buying, selling, planting, and building. But on the very day that Lot left Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. In reference to what happened to Lot's wife, Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24 verse 17, "Whoever is on the roof of his house, let him not go down to take anything out of it." The quotation means that, on the day when the Son of Man appears, he who is on the roof with his things inside the house should not go down to get them, and he who is in the field should not go back. Lot's family was warned not to look back during the flight from Sodom, but Lot's wife did not obey the command and was turned into salt. This story reveals several important lessons about morality, obedience, and the consequences of our actions. Lot's attempt to improperly protect the angels and his wife's disobedience are examples of how the influence of a perverse environment can affect our decisions. The story of Lot and his family warns us about the dangers of giving in to immorality and not following God's instructions, showing that even in the midst of destruction, God's grace and mercy are present for those who trust in Him. Therefore, as we reflect on this narrative, we can learn the importance of maintaining our integrity and trusting in divine guidance, even when faced with difficult situations. The Apostle Peter, in his second epistle, in chapter 2, verses 7 and 8, makes an important reference to Lot and the episode of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Peter mentions Lot as a righteous man who was deeply distressed by the immoral behavior and wicked acts of the inhabitants of Sodom. He highlights how Lot suffered living among such corrupt people, and how God, in His mercy, rescued Lot from this devastating environment. After the traumatic events in Sodom and the terrible relationship with his daughters, the Bible provides no further details about Lot's life. The biblical narrative simply fails to mention him, and we do not know whether he managed to rebuild his life or whether he ended his days in solitude, in the cave in the mountains where he took refuge with his daughters. This lack of subsequent information about Lot leaves a mystery about his last years. What we can affirm is that Lot had a unique opportunity to learn from Abraham, his uncle, known as the father of faith. Abraham is an example of trust in God, obedience, and spiritual leadership. Lot, as his nephew, had the opportunity to follow this example and live a life guided by faith. However, unlike Abraham, Lot often made decisions based on his own immediate perceptions and desires, which had great consequences for him and his family. The story of Lot offers us valuable lessons about the importance of being guided by faith in God, rather than being led by our own limited visions and passing desires. Lot's choices resulted in much suffering for both him and his family, showing that trusting God and following His ways is essential to avoid regret and tragedy. Peter reminds us that, despite Lot's failures and weaknesses, God still extended His mercy and rescued Lot from the impending destruction of Sodom. This shows us that God's grace is able to reach and save even those who make mistakes and find themselves in difficult situations. Therefore, as we reflect on Lot's life, we are encouraged to seek a life of faith, obedience, and trust in God. We should learn from the examples in the Bible, both good and bad, to guide our own lives and avoid the same mistakes. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. May God protect you and guide your choices to always reflect faith and divine wisdom.